Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, North and South Korea have come together in this almost historic way. Now, people are, let's say, cautiously optimistic, let's say it that way, that they will be able to put the grievances aside and come together and de-escalate in that region of the world. Let's say it that way. I'm trying to put it in a particular way. North and South Korea is somewhat of an odd case. Technically, they're still at war. There's been this kind of armistice of sorts, but they're still technically at war. We still have forces there right now. In one of, I guess you consider somewhat of a momentous event. I mean, I think it's happened in the past, meaning we've been at this point of ceasing hostilities or trying to cease hostilities in the past. But nevertheless, I don't necessarily want to step on something that I think is good. North and South shook hands, walked over to the demilitarized zone, and seeming to be in this kind of bromance thing, even though these guys are technically at war. And to show you what I mean, here's a picture of the two, Kim Jong and the South Korean leader. Happy as a lark, still at war. This is pomp and circumstance, so it is what it is. Nevertheless, I don't necessarily want to step on something that I think is good. And here comes the Trump administration to fuck it up. Now, Donald Trump is supposed to go and meet with Kim Jong-un. Donald Trump is saying that they're talking about denuclearizing. That's a difficult word to say. I have to be honest. Kim Jong-un would be a fucking idiot to do that. And the reason why I say that is you can't necessarily trust the United States to keep its agreements once you give up your bargaining chip. Now, I say this just from the perspective of somebody if I was sitting on the moon looking at these events, and I say to myself, the United States has gone into one country after the next. What's the one thing stopping it from going into North Korea? Oh, right, they have a nuclear bomb. And they would obliterate Japan, and they would obliterate South Korea in an instant the moment that we strike North Korea. Nevertheless, supposedly, that's up for conversation and that's up for talks. Now, John Bolton, the maniac, psychopath, John Bolton, who's now in the Trump administration and whispering in Donald Trump's ear, has come on to the news show, I think it's Face the Nation, in order to explain what they're thinking about with regards to North Korea. Take a look at this. And let me say this. For all the people who are Trump supporters, and for all the people who believe Trump is out there fighting the globalists, and he's, you know, he doesn't necessarily want to do these bombings and all this other stuff. People are policy. People are policy. The people who you put into your cabinet, the people who you have whispering in your ear, those are the people who are going to espouse the policies that you want. Most people don't hire people that they're going to be antagonistic to. Most people hire people that they're in line with. For whatever reason, Donald Trump ended up picking John Bolton. For whatever reason, Donald Trump ended up picking Pompeo. It looks like they're targeting Iran. But Bolton is a maniac. And listen to what I mean when I say he's a maniac. I don't care the reasons that Republicans or right-wingers, libertarians, or the ones that trend American libertarians, have for not wanting interventions. I like that they don't want interventions. And I would like to say to you that giving your support to somebody like this, like Trump in this case, when Trump is backed by maniacs like this, I think you need to reevaluate your support if this guy is doing things that are against your own value system. Take a look at what I mean. Listen to what he's talking about with North Korea. And listen to what he says is necessary for North Korea, or what they have plans for North Korea.
That's why we're here now, and I think it's up to the North Koreans to show us that they really do intend to give up nuclear weapons.
Well, arguably, North Korea also walks in a position of some strength, economic weakness perhaps, but this nuclear program is further along than any past administration has encountered. So
well, because of the mistakes of 25 years of past administrations.
But is it a requirement that Kim Jong-un agree to give away those weapons before you give any kind of concession?
I think that's right. I think we're looking at the Libya model of 2003, 2004.
Listen to what he's saying. We're looking for the Libya model of 2003, 2004. What happened to Gaddafi? Now, and what I mean by that is, I know that wasn't in 2003, 2004. I'm just, you have a situation where the person is talking about coming to the table. Part of the reasons that North Korea have those nuclear weapons in the first place is because it thought that they would be invaded and they would be taken out of that seat of power if they didn't have something that keeps them away, meaning from the standpoint of nuclear weapons. Part of the reason I would make the point that Iran and many of these other countries was looking for nuclear weapons is because it's their ace in a hole. If you attack us, we can at the very least show we have teeth in order to bite you. Calling a precondition that they give up their nuclear weapons means that you don't really want to negotiate. That's nonsense. Nobody in their right mind would do that. I don't even know if Kim Jong-un is being serious about this or if he's just kind of doing this for this kind of, pushing this on, or I don't want to call it publicity, or just kind of seeing the other person's hand. I have no idea. But he would be insane to give up his nuclear weapons, especially with John Bolton talking like this. This nuclear program is far along. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he has nuclear weapons. At the very least, he can set off one or has the capacity to hit his neighbors. What Libya plan are you talking about? What are you talking about? You have the opportunity for peace. And instead, you're here making war plans, talking about the person. You have some precondition that needs to be met. A precondition that no leader in their right mind, if they cared about their own national sovereignty, would give up. This man is a maniac. No, he doesn't want peace. And what I mean by that is, for the moment, picture yourself in another country. And assume for the moment you're North Korea. And by the way, part of North Korea's issue was that they believed in the same way, it's the wildest thing, in the same way that Gaddafi gave up his weapons and the United States went after him, they thought that if they gave up their weapons, they would also be attacked by the United States. And here is John Bolton. I think the Libya model is what we need to do. I think we need to do the Libya model. This man is a maniac. Look at, and I know I deviated. For the moment, picture yourself not necessarily in the United States, but picture yourself in another country. And look at the United States and the behavior of the United States from the perspective of that other country. Now, say for the moment, you're North Korea. You have a military on your border. In the last war that you were in, even though many people in the United States have completely forgotten about that war, 25% or 20% of your population have been decimated and wiped off the face of the game board. South Korea and the United States engages in military exercises pretending to invade your country routinely, annually. And you hate this. It's clear that you hate this. And they do this anyway. Now, the United States, South Korea, saber rattle. Don't get me wrong. North Korea also saber rattles. But I'm saying they saber rattle. They're on your border. There was a war that I guarantee that even though the United States has forgotten about, North Korea has not forgotten about. A large part of your population was wiped out. And there are United States troops on your border right now. What do? You look out at the world and you see one promise after the next broken. The United States made a promise with the Soviet Union that they wouldn't necessarily take advantage after they fell apart. Broken. Promise that we wouldn't expand NATO. Broken. Promise. And even promises between North Korea and the United States. The United States called them axis of evil under George Bush. After they called them axis of evil with George Bush, North Korea kind of went into a tailspin, and at that point, they were off the rails. Up until that point, to some level of goodness, I mean, it's iffy, they held to the tenets of the agreement that they were making with the United States on that case, and then they still got hit with weapons of mass destruction, that they were in this kind of triad. But looking at this from their perspective, you have a hostile enemy. You have a hostile enemy that's gone into one country after the next in the Middle East, destroyed Iraq, destroyed Libya, destroyed or dropping bombs in one country after the next, has completely ignored the laws of its own country, has completely blown off international law. What do you do? What do you do? What are nuclear weapons to you? Assume for the moment that you didn't have those nuclear weapons. What would be allowed from the standpoint of the United States military, where they spend like $1 trillion on their military? What do you believe is your response without some level of a game changer like a nuclear weapon? This is the reason for the nuclear weapons in this case. Is not that these things are offensive weapons. These things are probably more likely than not defensive weapons. We think that that country is hostile. We need to find some way to defend our sovereign integrity. So, John Bolton is a maniac. The idea that he's going to use some quote-unquote Libyan model to do this, John Bolton is a maniac. These two countries have the opportunity, at the very least, the chance to make some kind of progress that should be nurtured. John Bolton is a maniac. So, I'll leave it at that. This should be nurtured. This is a good thing. Yes, we've been here before. No, they've never necessarily mended those ties. I have no idea what Donald Trump is going to accomplish with this particular meeting. I would say Kim Jong-un would be an idiot to give up his nuclear weapons, especially with this United States and with this maniac in the White House. So, they should be talking about peace. Even from a political standpoint, they should be talking about peace. Everybody should be on message for, we're trying to get a peaceful solution. We're trying to get a peaceful solution. We're trying to get a peaceful solution. Even if this maniac is in the back thinking about this, this is not what you should be showing on television, because at the end of the day, if I was North Korea and I saw somebody saying this, all trust in any kind of negotiation goes out the window at that point. And if we're being honest, none of the trust should have been part of the negotiation in the first place. I don't know what these guys think they're going to accomplish in this meeting. They may blow my mind if Donald Trump comes out and says, yes, we have peace between North and South Korea. Congratulations, I'm fucking Donald Trump. Or nothing. Wait and see. What I do know is John Bolton is a maniac. And it's terrifying that John Bolton is whispering in the ear of any president, let alone one as inexperienced past reality shows as Donald Trump. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Thanks, guys.